Hi, I'm Trisha at Club Scrap, and this is the Artifacts collection. It's a special release that we have prepared here for you at Club Scrap, and it is going to make 8 beautiful pages. With the kit, you'll receive some ribbon. We both have some teal and rust-colored grosgrain, and some beautiful charms. We have these fish charms and little cute little froggy charms, and then we have some gorgeous carved buttons. Those are all packaged separately. We have a dozen pre-cut photo mats. Those are all ready to go for your 4x6 photos. And then we have 12 sheets of paper. We have some beautiful prints here and some printed cut aparts as well. So I want to show you how all of this comes together by using our simple, efficient scrapbooking method. Let's get started. To begin, I like to print my instructions and put my papers in a very specific order to help prepare me for the trimming process. And we will trim all of the papers for 8 layouts at the same time. So I usually start by looking at the second page of my instructions where I can see my first trimming diagram. And I will put my papers in order, kind of just one sheet at a time. So the first piece I need to find is the white sun print. I'm just going to put that face down on my work surface. Next, I'll find the white fish print, and I'll put that face down. And next I'll be trimming a teal plain, followed by a poppy colored plain. And then I'll find the cut aparts. Those are usually found at the bottom of the stack. So I have a sheet of cut aparts with pieces of all equal sizes, and then a cut apart with all kinds of border strips. Put that on my little pile face down. And then I will find the base layouts for all of the pages that I'm going to be making, starting with layout number 8. And so I'll need to find the sky blue plain. That'll be next. And make sure you just grab one sheet. And then the other white fish print, that'd be this guy, put him face down. Then I need a teal plain. Here he is. The other sky blue plain. Moving forward to the 2 sand colored plains, and then finishing with the white sun print and a poppy plain. If I take that entire stack then and flip it back over, this should be on top. All right, next I will get my trimmer. And if you've been around here for a while, maybe you don't even know about this yet, but this is my trusty favorite trimmer, and you'll see by the center of it, it gets an awful lot of use. Since the blade is self-sharpening, I'm still using the original that I've had for years and years, and it cuts beautifully. And then I'm also using our accordion pocket file organizer. And this is critical to just being very efficient and successful with this method. So as I trim, each piece will be filed then into the appropriate folder, each pocket, and each pocket represents a double page spread. So all of the pieces that are required for all 8 layouts will be filed away as we trim. And if you are a member, you have free access to a video tutorial that helps you create this pocket file for yourself. And if you're not a member, you can find this at my digital website for download. There's also a kit that you can pick up that contains all of the glue and the papers and the video tutorial as well to help you create this for yourself. Now, when I designed it, made a little lip on the front end of it, and that lip is designed to stay underneath the top of your trimmer base so that when it's sitting under your trimmer, it will stabilize the pocket file and everything will remain straight up and down on the pocket file. And as you are filing things, the width from here to here is only 12 inches, so just make sure you file things at an angle. And I also file horizontally so I don't add unnecessary pressure onto the back of the pocket file. Okay, so I'm all set for trimming because I have my instructions, and I'm starting at page 2 with that first piece. And let's just go ahead and get started with the cutting. All right, this first beautiful, I call it the sun print because this just looks like a big sun to me, gets placed into the trimmer with the sun in the upper left corner. And we just need to make one cut at 7.5 inches. This large piece will get filed into the pocket for the layouts 1 and 2, and then this other piece will be filed into 7 and 8. I think I'm going to actually set this really big piece aside. All right, the next piece to trim, that wasn't too hard, was it? This one will be trimmed with the borders running vertically, and we'll cut it at 9 and 3. So all we're doing is isolating these 2 border strips. Both of these strips will be filed into the same pocket for layouts 3 and 4. And then we have one more 6 by 12 piece. We'll trim this horizontally at 8 and 4. And file these 3 pieces into the pockets for 5 and 6. All right, next we'll take the teal plane. Our trimming will become increasingly more complicated, so if I'm going too fast, just press pause as needed or consult your instruction document. We'll make a series of just narrow strips here by trimming at 11.5, 11, 10.5, 10, and now I'm scooting down a little further down to 8 3/4, 6.5, and 4. And as I was trimming, and I always remind students in my classroom to leave the pieces pile up as they fall. Do not move them as you might be tempted to do, because I count on those pieces being in that order for the filing process. The piece that's in our trimmer base, now we're going to rotate that horizontally and cut it at 6. This piece will be filed for the layouts 5 and 6, and the other piece 7 and 8. Now the very next piece laying on the top of that pile, I'm just going to pick up that one piece, and it measures 2.5 by 12 right now. We will be trimming this horizontally at 11.25. That will create an actual scrap, which we will not use. All right, then the next cut is at 7.5 and 3 3/4. You just made 3 rectangles that are the same size. Those go into the pocket for 3 and 4. The very next piece to the right of the blade should be 2.25 by 12. This will be trimmed horizontally at 9.5, 6 3/4, and 4. All right, all but the bottom one. All 3 of these pieces will be filed into 3 and 4, and you are left with a 2.25 by 2.5 inch piece. This will be filed into the pocket for 7 and 8. Remaining in the stack right here, I've got a series of narrow strips and a wide one. File the wide one into pocket for 1 and 2, and then 2 additional skinny ones also into the pocket for 1 and 2, and then one of them into 3 and 4, and the last one into 5 and 6. Okay, let me scoop this up so you can see my little pockets filling up with all those elements. Kind of nice. Now, the most complex trimming is here, and by now hopefully you're warmed up a little bit with all of your cutting. I'll just remind you that every cut has a purpose, so just hang with me on this a bit more challenging process. All right, our first trim on this poppy plane is at 11 3/4. It's going to create a very narrow strip. 10 3/4, 9 3/4, 8, keep on going, 6 1/4, and 4 1/4. A lot of vertical cuts on this one. Now a lot of horizontal ones as well. This largest piece gets rotated, and we will trim horizontally at 9 3/4, 6 1/2, and 3 1/4. Sorry. That will give us 3 rectangles of the same size. One of them will be filed into the pocket for 5 and 6, and the other 2 go with 7 and 8. If you don't have the file, you can just have a pile, but typically in a classroom setting, I don't have enough room for everyone to have 4 big piles of stuff, thus the invention of that accordion pocket file. Now, you have this one remaining narrow rectangle. We will trim this horizontally at 4 and 2. Place one of these rectangles into the pocket for 1 and 2, the other one 7 and 8, and you do have a tiny little scrap. All right, the next piece should be 2 inches wide. We will be filing this in the pocket for 5 and 6. The very next piece should be 1 3/4 inches. trim just one horizontally at 9 7/8. Now, 9 7/8 might be more of a challenge to you, but just so that you know, 9 7/8 is halfway between 9 3/4 and 10. There are three little tiny marks in between those two measurements, and you're shooting for the middle one. That's the largest of them all. So that's 9 7/8. Kind of a weird measurement, but it has a purpose, I promise. Next one is 8. Then 6 and 3. Now, believe it or not, we need to trim this 3-inch piece vertically, okay? So sometimes it's easier to see if you bring the item a little bit lower in your trimmer, but either way, we need to trim this vertically at 1.5 inches. So just make sure that you're lined up at that line, and then press down firmly on the clear bar to hold that piece in place. That was 1 1/4, and actually we do need to have one of them at 1 1/4. So that gets filed in the pocket for 3 and 4. Now I'll trim the other one at 1.5. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to confuse you. So one gets trimmed vertically at 1.5. The other gets trimmed vertically at 1 1/4. And they both get filed in the pocket for 3 and 4. Then you have 3 pieces that remain, and they're all different heights. Take the tallest one. It's actually 2 1/8 inches. We're going to file that in 5 and 6. And the other 2 pieces that are almost the same size both get filed into the pocket for 3 and 4. We have another strip that's 1 3/4 by 12. That goes into the pocket for 7 and 8. And we have 2 1-inch strips. One of them goes into 7 and 8. The other goes to 5 and 6. And then we have this teeny tiny 1/4-inch piece, and of course we used it in pocket 3 and 4. The next thing we need to do is divide our cut-aparts into sections as indicated by those tiny little registration marks on your print. But basically with this, if you place this in the trimmer, let's just say, so the word art is fact in the upper right corner, we can basically cut at 8 and 4. And I always fine-tune my trims just to make sure they line up with those registration marks. So then each one of these individual strips will be trimmed horizontally at 9, 6, and 3. Now, if you did it that way, this sun should be on the top. Let's file this in 5 and 6. The other sun goes in 7 and 8. This journaling prompt, 1 and 2. And then this strange, I think it's, I don't know, 7 and 8. I don't know what it is. It goes at 7 and 8. Piece of artwork. Okay, the very next piece, I'll trim this horizontally again at 9, 6, and 3. And then we will file. All right, this journaling prompt with the thing on the top goes in 3 and 4. And it doesn't matter the order. I've been asked that. Does it matter what order everything goes into the pocket? No. The sun goes in 7 and 8. The adorable little froggy goes in 3 and 4. And then our pair of fish goes in 7 and 8. One last piece. I'll place it in so that this guy is on the right. Guess what we're trimming at? 9, 6, and 3. And file. Art is fact, 3 and 4. Fish, 7 and 8. Remember when? 5 and 6. And this little guy also goes in 5 and 6. Okay, looks like we go on to the next piece of artwork. And our rule that we follow here at Clip Scrap is to always remove the narrowest pieces first. And the largest piece, as you can see, is on this left edge here. So I'll place it into the trimmer, arrange like that. And once again, use those guidelines to help you find where to trim. Those tiny little gray lines separating each individual piece of artwork. Okay, the large art is my favorite artifact here. 1 and 2. I think that would be really fun for a 50th birthday. Just saying. Okay, The Good Life. This one, 5 and 6. This Day Rocked. 7 and 8. Written in Stone. 3 and 4. And we have 2 matching strips here. One of them goes in 5 and 6, and the other goes in 7 and 8. And we have 2 additional strips that match. One goes in 1 and 2, and the other goes in 5 and 6. Now, how did I know all that? I didn't memorize it. Of course, if you look at your instructions, you will see a little map of that piece of artwork we just trimmed, and all the designations for every piece will be written on top of that artwork. Works slick. Same thing for all the papers we were trimming and filing. All of the designations for those are superimposed onto the diagram as well. And you'll find it's also helpful to look at the diagram to see, do I have the paper in the trimmer the way she wants it to reproduce what she's creating? If you can verify that visually on those prints, it can be really helpful. The next thing we will file are the pre-cut photo mats. And basically, I'm just consulting my instructions to see what goes into layout 1. And we've got 3 sand colored photo mats, pocket 1 and 2, and then 2 rust or poppy colored photo mats, also in 1 and 2. And then our blue pattern. And I love this paper. I love it because it's got a pattern on both sides. And this will go into pocket 3 and 4, along with 1 of these beautiful sky blue photo mats, also 3 and 4. And 5 and 6 will add 1 of the only remaining poppy photo mats. And looks like the remaining 2 sky blue and 1 blue pattern photo mats will go into 7 and 8. Okay, all that prep work is done. Let's take a look at what we have left. To make 8 layouts, these are your only scraps that will remain. So that's pretty impressive for 8 pages and only just a matter of minutes. Let's see, I've got 18 minutes of actual live filming time. That's pretty great for prepping everything I need for all of these layouts. Okay, I'll set my trimmer aside and we'll get ready to do our dry fit process. To dry fit, I always work from the bottom to the top. In other words, if I'm making 8 layouts, the first layouts I'm working with will be 7 and 8, that last pairing, because I can build from the bottom up. And that way, if I find an error along the way, I'm easily able to fix it before I glue everything down from top to bottom. So the next, if you just take your stack that you have, the remaining stack, the very next piece on the top should be blue, and that is the base for layout 8. So if I have the stack and I can plan on my space for a double page spread, all I do is slide the base for layout 8 to the right, and then the base for layout 7 is on my left. And then we'll be continually sliding things over to move our entire stack and build it up on this side. Hope you follow that. And of course, since we're looking at 7 and 8, I will consult my instructions. And I'm looking at the thumbnail image for layout 7 and 8. And you can do this whether you're using a tablet or a printout of the instructions. Either way, you'll need to consult the image of the layout. And then everything from the pocket for 7 and 8 will be dumped out onto this double page spread, and we will go about arranging things sort of like a puzzle. And I try to aim for a placement of the largest items first. And that way I can kind of get a feel for the layering or the order of things. And I am not going to adhere anything or worry about fibers or embellishments until I'm completely done with the dry fitting process. I think this will go here. And you can see it's sort of like the assembly of a jigsaw puzzle. All the pieces are there. You know, the equivalent of the box, the empty boxes in front of me, and I'm using that to consult for the placement of all the objects that I've allocated. And if there is, look at how that nests. Oh, it's so clever. I just can't stand it. Okay, then we got our little things going on here. This piece nests right onto this cute little journaling prompt. I figured I had enough journaling going on there. So those are all the pieces for layout 7 and 8. That came together really well, with the exception, I didn't add any charms or fibers or anything, but you get the idea of how this comes together. So layout 7 then slides over to the stack. the very next piece slides over. And now I have the base all set for layouts 5 and 6. I'll go into my pocket. Take the contents from the 5 and 6 pocket out, place it on my double page spread, and we begin the process again. I will point something out to you on the very left edge of this layout. I have this wider strip with a cut apart on it, and then another strip next to it to kind of anchor the left side of my layout. Very, very nice there. And it doesn't have to be perfectly laid out, just so that you know everything is kind of finding its home. We have a photo mat nested here on the left vertical. And we have this lovely nested piece here with this in the corner. And then we have a teal photo mat down here. So everything's got to come up. And again, this is why you don't want to adhere anything. Now, when I'm adhering a nested strip across the center of the page, enter my rusty grid ruler. I would never lay anything on the center of a page that's supposed to stretch across without it. When I place it on my layout, I just make sure that the dotted lines are lined up on the left and right edges, and then have this with my adhesive on the back and rest it against the ruler and drop it into place. That way I know I'm not gluing it to the page downhill, which I have a terrible propensity of doing. All right, then I've got some more photo mats here and these elements to add. Of course, ribbon to follow. Everything is there. Slide. Slide again. Now this is the layout. This is 3 and 4. This is the one that's most complicated, I guess. It fits together sort of like, really like a jigsaw puzzle. And that's why I had all these odd-shaped, small little pieces. But I think the effort you put into this will be worth it in the end. Okay, I'll begin with my largest pieces, these long border strips on the upper left and lower right. And then I have this nested, really skinny strip. When I adhered the orange to the teal, I used my glue in my needle tip applicator. This goes here, this written in stone, and this is kind of what started the whole thing. This written in stone thing, and I added a photo mat just to the right of the word stone, a vertical mat. And then I found that, let's see, I wanted to add this guy here. So I made the top two edges of these two components level. And then on the far right, you can't see this, I added these two pieces, which is why they had to be kind of odd sizes. They're the same width, but a different height. Across the top, I have my 3 rectangles fitting in there. And then I have a tall piece right here. So do you see how the whole thing just sort of fits together with that little border, consistent border around everything? And the same thing is true on the left side. I'll kind of scoot this over a little bit so you can see. Let's start here with our larger photo mats. This guy. Look at that. Use your grid ruler to make sure everything's level and nice and straight before you start adhering things, okay? And then slide. Slide. We're doing the double slide. All right, now I have my remaining layouts 1 and 2. And I did set aside this gigantic piece and all the contents from this pocket. Here we go, our final double page spread. It's unbelievable how quickly this comes together. Got a little border strip across the bottom and top. Look at how that fits right in there nicely. A couple of photo mats here. A nested border strip on the right. Another vertical photo mat here. A journaling box and something to go there. Wow, so that's everything that came in that kit with the exception of just adding, which you will use all of these gorgeous charms and buttons and the ribbons and fibers. if I just slide, now I can quickly show you how the layout's finished up. So we have page 1, and I added this darling froggy charm with some ribbon to the upper left corner. Page 2, I complemented and balanced with another frog charm in the lower right, and then a 3-part bow made with the grosgrain ribbon. Here we have layout 3. From my stash, I did add some waxed linen thread. I tied a bow onto each button, and that actually goes all the way through to the back. It was a little bit labor intensive, so if you want, just take some bookbinding glue and a needle tip applicator and adhere them. That's completely optional step. And then I have the page 4 with that nested border strip there, and added another button to the journaling prompt. I tied a bow onto the silver frog charm and added it to the lower left corner here. So you still have room for a picture, and you can see that cute little sun there. On the opposing side, I added a long strip of ribbon here with that 3-part bow, and then that darling fish charm just seemed to really fit in there perfectly. We'll just pretend we planned it that way, okay? Here again is, this is layout number 7, with the fish charm in the upper right corner here, some ribbon, the carved button, balancing everything out on the left with this nested, it's actually a triple nested area. And layout 8, rounded that out with a grosgrain bow on this upper cut apart. And again, feel free to cover that with a photo if you have it, but it's there to finish the layout if you don't. That's what I love about cut aparts. And then we have one little frog charm right there in the corner. So there are your 8 completed artifacts layouts. Remember, this is a special edition collection. It's a remix featuring a favorite from Club Scrap's way distant past, designed by our very own Jacqueline Carney. It's a beautiful set. You can pick this up while supplies last. Enjoy artifacts.